Fascinating stuff coming out about the Clinton Foundation. Now, we haven't spoken about this for a long time, but there's now a report out saying that years after the FBI was forced to shut down corruption probes of the charity, the IRS began a criminal tax investigation into the foundation's dealings, but then suddenly stopped in 2019. And there are memos and internal emails that have been reviewed by Just the News that suggest this investigation came to a dead halt, and nobody quite knows why. Are we going to hear anything more about the Clinton Foundation? Because I know there's a big effort to start looking into the past of all sorts of things, including the Bidens, so why not the Clintons?
Well, the IRS is in a mess right now. It's on its seventh leader in less than a year. There are a lot of things they have to clean up. I suspect that we will come to the bottom of this, and we'll find, as just with the Hunter Biden IRS probe, there was political interference. So I think all of that should come to light. By the way, the Clinton Foundation has a direct connection to many of your viewers. It was the Australian government under the Labour Party that was one of the biggest donors to the Clinton Foundation, over 100 million Australian dollars. Interestingly enough, the Australian government was scheduled to send a final payment to the Clintons right after Hillary's successful election, not in 2016. They apparently stopped it at 4:24 in the morning after the election, once the results were in. So as foolish and as much as the Australian government played the sap and the sucker with the Clinton Foundation, they did cut their losses pretty quickly after Hillary lost.
Boy, it's pretty telling, though, that they thought that there'd be something to be gained by giving money to that foundation. So I'm looking forward to a real sort of watch this space on this. John, I want to talk also about how this whole fight over redistricting and gerrymandering seems to be spreading across the country. Now, we had the fight start in Texas. Gavin Newsom in California took it up and with retaliatory measures. Now Missouri is apparently going to redistrict its own congressional districts. Have the Democrats, John, started a fight that they weren't prepared for in some of these states where the congressional weighting is very heavily tilted to the Democrats, even if the overall population isn't?
Well, it's certainly true that there are more places the Republicans can gerrymander the districts than the Democrats have. Of course, in California, the real motivation for what Gavin Newsom is doing has nothing to do with Democrats or the House. It has to do with his presidential ambitions. He wants to prove that he is the toughest, meanest opponent of Donald Trump possible, and this puts him on the radar screen. I think that if he wins this referendum, he will vaunt into front-runner status for the Democratic nomination. If he loses it, he'll be the party's GOAT, and that will not stand for greatest of all time, I can assure you. I believe gerrymandering is horrible. I think it does distort democracy, but there's a very difficult problem in solving it because elections are left in the United States to all 50 states unless Congress wishes to override them. I think two things have to be done. First of all, we should ban, and I think Congress can do this, ban mid-decade redistricting. This should be done every 10 years when the census is conducted. We need to improve the census, make sure that it's more accurate. Maybe we should discuss whether illegal aliens should be counted for purposes of congressional representation, but it shouldn't be a game where you play it every 2 years. The rules should last for 10 years. Secondly, Illinois, which has one of the worst gerrymanders in the country, this time a Democratic one, there's been a coalition formed to finally have a commission that will use independent judgments, not political judgments, on how to draw the lines. And by the way, they have Bill Daley, who was Barack Obama's former chief of staff. They have Barack Obama, former transportation secretary, and they have the former mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, a Democrat, all endorsing this. So I believe that the more that people learn about gerrymandering, because it's a rather obscure subject for the average voter, the more people will realize how damaging it is, whichever party does it, and maybe we can get some movement in the states to have more of these truly independent commissions, like the one that the Democrats are trying to get rid of in California, for example.
John, thanks so much for explaining that. Yeah, I've been saying this for weeks now, that this is going to be a big sleeper issue this year that's really going to start to blow up. Thank you so much for your time.